Hey everyone, welcome back to Data and Donuts. My name is Aaron. I'm here with my friend and colleague, Claudia Mojica. Today we're here to talk about looking at various data regarding students. But before I get into the conversation with her today, I'd like Claudia to tell us a little bit about herself.
Hi, thanks for inviting me here, Aaron. My name is Claudia. I am a faculty member here at Coastline. I am a counselor and associate professor. I teach counseling courses here at Coastline. And I love that I get to work at the community college because this is where I started. I started off as a community college student locally at IVC, and I was able to transfer to a UC campus. And even though I do have my master's and that experience was important, I think that my most formative experiences came from when I was a community college student, and then that experience of transferring to a UC campus. So I'm really excited about the work that I get to do here because it's not only personal, but it's also something that I see like it's my way of being able to contribute to a good society that, through the work that I get to do.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing it, Claudia. And so, as thinking about it as you're a leader on our Student Equity and Achievement group, when we give you lots of data, when you start collecting lots of information, you got to be student voice, data points, the like. Why is it important to you, or is it important to you? I'll start. And if it is, why is it important to look at multiple characteristics of a student?
Well, it's very important. So what you're speaking to, Aaron, is what we in EOPS always talk about, desegregating our data, right? We start with one data point and then we begin to ask questions about what we're seeing there. So someone may ask the question about, so what is the success rate of your student population? If we really want to give a good response to that and something that's valuable, that's something, someone can do something with, then we have to take a look, right? This is our overall success rate. Who is making up the success rate at what rate are the different populations of students accessing the success? What are their ages? Where do they come from? What's their experience with technology like? Even things like, what kind of high schools did they attend? Was it traditional? Was it homeschool? I mean, all of these different pieces allow us to speak to the needs of our students, but no one knows this better than you do, Aaron, because we're always asking you questions about this when we do our reporting for EOPS.
Oh, most definitely. And I think you brought up a really good point of understanding the various facets of the student and really understanding that not all students can be defined by one or two characteristics, that
Exactly.
Each student has their own story to tell. And I really appreciate it. And it's true that our departments really try to find how do we meet students where they are. And so if you have time, could you tell us maybe a story about how you've utilized this data in your department or even in the SEA group, and any activities that you may have developed from looking at multiple levels of data?
Well, I can give you a story about our department and how looking at these multiple levels has actually impacted and changed the way that we do things. So EOPS is a well-established student equity program, right? We've been around for a long time. And a lot of the practices that we have in EOPS are outlined by the titles that govern us. So we really believe that we were doing the best that we could, that we were addressing our equity gaps, and we were really proud of our success rates. And then a few years ago, we scratched a little bit at what we were seeing, and we started taking a closer look at who was a part of our program. And what we noticed is that while the demographics on our campus were changing, right? We were increasing our numbers of students that we serve that identify as Latinx or Hispanic. We were increasing the numbers of students who identify as Black or African American, but our numbers were not changing. And we saw our representation and we had to ask, why is that? Why is it that we have a certain population that is now overrepresented and our demographics are not growing along with the college's demographics? So that really got us to look at different aspects of our program, right? Like, what is it in our practices that allows students to identify and see themselves as a part of our program? And that conversation was a very large conversation that actually led us to really identify that we had existing gaps in our approaches. But that's what data is supposed to do, right? It's not something that's supposed to show us like, like something to feel guilty over that we weren't doing it well. It's supposed to show us, what our opportunities for growth are, how we can change the direction of something so we can, really do what our mission is, which is, create services within a program that can be accessed by all students.
Now, that's awesome. That's a great story. And so, based on what you've learned from your story, are there any recommendations that you may give someone who's in a similar situation as you, looking at different data points to help facilitate some dialogue or decisions?
Yes, I would suggest that you take a close look at the story that your numbers are telling you, right? Numbers tell us a story, and it's not always something that's easy to understand. It's like reading a complex novel. You have to look at it critically. So you have to look and see what what is this information trying to tell me, and what kinds of questions have I asked? Like, so we have our experiences in working with students, right? And very often we can take those experience and find an explanation for the way interactions are going, based on our data. So if I had to give anyone advice based on this, is if you notice a certain trend in your experiences with your students, if you notice that there are certain stories that your students are sharing that you're starting to hear more frequently, take a look at your data and see if you can use it to help make sense, of the students' experiences and what your outcomes are showing you. Are your outcomes truly working? Maybe you have to change your outcomes, like, or maybe you have to change your approaches so that you can have the outcomes that you're looking for.
Awesome.
Is that what you were asking?
I was, and more. So that's perfect. And even, wow, I think that's some sage advice that you can provide to everybody. And I really like the approaches and the ways you're going about things. It sounds like your group is very, very open, very honest, and just really looking at the numbers to help facilitate those dialogues, to help you uncover data. Goes into a lot of different ways. When we look at, there's exploratory analysis, which you are doing, and explanatory, just kind of telling people what the data says. And going through that exploratory process really sounds like it helps you uncover opportunities to advance the work you're doing. And so that's super cool. And hopefully others listening, you can do the same. And
yes, you can. And don't be scared. If you notice that, you have goals and maybe they're not going the way you wanted them to go, sometimes it's kind of scary to speak to those truths, right? To notice something in your reporting that isn't in line with what you meant to do. But like in our case, when we saw that, we were really surprised and confused. So we're like, okay, we have to take this to a higher power. And we did. We reached out to our greater campus community, and we had some really good feedback, and it really helped us make some of the changes that we've implemented and are working on now. So we're looking forward to capturing, what our most recent data looks like, to see how well our approaches are working out, to see if they really made the differences that we intended to make with them.
That's excellent. See, closing the loop always. And so it comes to our bonus question. So my bonus question, most technical one of the day, is what's your favorite donut?
Oh my gosh, Boston cream all the way.
Wow. Yeah, it's been a good minute since I've had one. Usually after I have one of those, I'm done for like the week.
Yeah, so am I. I have to eat them like in halves. Like maybe I'll have half today and half tomorrow. Those are heavy.
It is hard though, because I'll be like, I'll have one more bite. And then another, and then somehow it's gone. And then the next day I was like, where'd that donut go? I guess I've got to replace it. Cool.
So what is your favorite?
So my favorite, I actually like blueberry donuts. I've come to find out that those are, first of all, I haven't found a donut. Maybe I don't care for jelly donuts too much, but I haven't really found a donut I don't like. So that's a problem. And so other than that, but I'll share a funny story about that real quick. And this is bonus footage, everybody. There was a person that goes to a donut shop that's by me. She's retired and in her late 80s. And so every Sunday she goes into the donut shop and she buys a box of donuts, all different flavors, random assortment every time. She always says, give me a random assortment. They give her a random assortment and she takes each donut. There's 12. She takes a bite of each one and she's done with it. So she takes 12 bites of donuts and then she's done. And so that's her tradition, I guess, for the last like 5 or 6 years, the small donut shop down in South Orange County, where she'll go. And so she'll have a variety bites of donuts for a Sunday morning. It's always interesting, but Yeah, I sometimes run into her when I'm there. So I
That's
just thought
kind of
that's
cool. I wonder how long it satisfies like her craving. She's having a
I
little bit of all of them.
I know. So that's something to think about. But I'd have the problem. It's like, oh well, I'm guilty. I bit it, so I better eat the whole thing. So I don't think I can make it through 12, maybe 8, but not 12.
It's a lot of bites.
There you go. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Claudia, for hanging out today. It's been fun, and we'll have to do this again soon.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me in, Erin.
All right, cool. Have a good one.